Tell us about Muhammad Ali and your relationship with him.
Well, man, I tell you, Muhammad Ali, I met him 10 years after I met Richard Nixon at Burning Tree Golf Course. I was working with the United Planning Organization in 1967, as I mentioned earlier, and me, Petey Green, and H. Rap Brown was standing in front of Ben's Chili Bowl when somebody came up and said, "Hey, man, Muhammad Ali is up on the campus of Howard University." I said, "What?" So I said, "Man, I'm going up there." I said, "Come on, Pete." He said, "Man, I got a meeting. I can't go nowhere." Rap said, "I got a meeting." I said, "Well, I see y'all later. I'm going up here to see the champion." So I left and walked up to the campus, and there he was standing on the campus with about, man, looked like 200 or 300 students all around him, man. And he was talking about the draft. He was talking about America. He was talking about black and white. I mean, he was calling it like he saw him, you know. So it was fascinating. So I moved my way. I got right up in front, you know, where I could hear every word and sort of look him in the eye. And man, it was a beautiful spring day, man. It was a beautiful day. I'll never forget that. Sun was shining bright, and he was in top form, man. Everybody laughing and everything, man. So he must have talked about an owl to those kids, man. I think it was a guy by the name of Dr. Ware that had brought him up on campus. Dr. Ware used to be an amateur boxer himself, and he and Muhammad were good friends. And he invited the champ to come up on campus because Champ was going through some changes with the draft board, you know. Folks wanted to take his title away. He was going through all kinds of changes, you know, talking about sending him to jail for 5 years. So anyway, he came up to talk to the black students. And it went over well. And as he is closing out his conversation, you know, he's looking around, he said, "Man, I got some beautiful women up here, and it's a beautiful town." I said, "You got that right." So he said, I think I want to see more of D.C. Who will take me on a tour? I said, "Come on, man, come on, go with me," just like that. And man, we started out and started to walk down Georgia Avenue, and we got down a couple of blocks, and I looked behind us, and it looked like a parade was following us, you know? And man, people were honking their horns, man, women were getting out of their cars and hugging him, and men shaking his hand. You know, this brother was a beautiful brother, and people could see what a great individual that he was, man. He was the kind of guy that everybody was a friend, everybody. So we walked on down to 7th and T Street, and we got down there and started joking with people. And out of Sam K's record shop came a guy by the name of Harvey. Harvey was called the oldest teenager. He was a brother. He came out, he put up his hands and started shadow boxing with Muhammad, and Muhammad fell right into it, man. So it was a beautiful outing that I never forgot. And the champ and I, we talked a lot about kind of work that I was doing, working with young people, and that was his heart, man. He loved young people, man. And that was 1967. And I know I never saw Muhammad again until 1970, I think, 70 or 71, when my friend Harry Barnett, who was my attorney, Harry was like an ambulance chaser, you know, chasing accidents all around. And he was pretty much into sports. So I remember one week he asked me with a guy by the name of Jim Bethea, who was a sports writer for the Washington Star newspaper. He said, "Harold, me and Jim will ride up to Cleveland. Muhammad is putting on an exhibition. You want to ride with us?" I said, "Man, why not, man? I'm just into sports. I just got my own sports talk show. This would be a good spot for me." So I rolled up to Cleveland. Muhammad Ali was fighting an exhibition for Children's Hospital. Children's Hospital had some financial problems, and Lloyd Price, who was a good friend of Muhammad Ali's, put Muhammad Ali in touch with Don King. Don King, of course, was a big numbers man in Cleveland and had a reputation as a crook, thug, and everything else. And they convinced Muhammad Ali to put on this exhibition. And we get up to Cleveland, and we walk into the hotel room, and there's Muhammad Ali standing in the middle of the floor with all these people around him, media people. And we walking up, and he looks over and sees me. He said, "Harold Bell, what you doing this far away from home?" I shocked me. I ain't seen the man in 4 years. He remembers me, man. So everybody started looking at me and said, oh, who is this guy, you know? So anyway, he put me on the map. You know, after that, man, you know, Don King wanted to meet me, and this person wanted to meet me. And just happened that Jim Bethea was going to be doing an interview with Don King the next morning at breakfast, and invited me to sit in on the breakfast. And I said, okay. So I sit in, and Don King, of course, hey man, put on a show for the two of us. And he convinced me, Harold Bell, stick with me, baby, we going places. Well, as you know, who went someplace and who didn't. that was funny. It was really funny, man. I look back at it now. It was funny, but it was a great experience for me. And it was a great experience to be right there and see Muhammad Ali give a brother a break. You know, he gave Don King, he put Don King in position to become the greatest boxing promoter in the country against everybody's wishes. Man, all of them. I mean, people didn't want Muhammad Ali to give Don King an opportunity, but Muhammad Ali, being the man that he was, you know, if it was another brother, he wanted to help him. And so against everybody's wishes, he put Don King in a position. Of course, we know what happened there. Don King ended up stealing from everybody. He even stole from Muhammad Ali and didn't have to do it. Don King reminded me of one of those brothers, man, that you can take out of the ghetto. You know that word there, you can take a Negro out of the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of him. That was Don King, man. He just had to take, man. And Muhammad Ali would give you anything. You had to take nothing from Muhammad Ali. And that was one of the most disappointing things, man, when it comes to Champ, because the Champ had a good heart, man. He had a great heart, and I remember as I got close to him, you know, right now I give my blessings to his brother Rockmont, because Rockmont was there for him when nobody else was. Rockmont was there to protect his back, and Rockmont became like a brother to me. So I had always had access to Muhammad Ali. I had wherever he was, you know, if I needed to get in touch. And I never forget, we were up at Deer Lake where he trained. My partner and I went up, and we were sitting around. He said, Harold, what you want? What you want to do, man? What you want to do? I said, man, I want to do my own television special. He said, well, okay, well, let's do it. Just like that. I said, okay. So next time we met was in Chicago. And we made arrangements. He wanted me to go over to the Rumble in the Jungle, Zaire. And I said, man, I ain't flying across all that water. I'll wait till you come back. He said, cluck, cluck, chicken. He was scared to fly himself, you understand? But I was sure enough was scared. I didn't want to fly across all that water. So he said, I tell you what, when I come back, you be the first one to interview me. This is off the top of his head. So, you know, I ain't paying no attention to what he said, because Muhammad Ali is always saying crazy things, you know. So anyway, me and Rodney, my partner, we got back on the plane and rode back to Washington, D.C., and ended up watching the fight, of course, on Constitution Hall on closed circuit. And man, I thought Big George, for my, you know, really might hurt the Champ, you know, but the Champ was confident that he was going to beat George, you know, because I remember him saying, man, he said, after I beat George, you and I going to do the interview. And man, I tell you, that was an exciting fight, man. The strategy that Muhammad Ali did. See, Muhammad Ali was his own man. He didn't plan that way to rope-a-dope with anyone. Angelo Dundee didn't know about it. No one knew about it. He didn't decide on doing the rope-a-dope until he got in the ring that night. And that's what happened. And we saw one of the biggest upsets in boxing history, man. And so now I'm laying back home one night. I'm laying in the bed, right? It must have been about 10 o'clock at night. And my phone rang. So I pick up the phone. I say, I'm sleeping, right? Let me speak to Harold Bell. I said, let's just speak to Harold Bell. Who's calling? I want to speak to Harold Bell, fool. This is Muhammad Ali. I said, oh my God. I said, oh my God. Hey, Champ, what's up? He said, you still want to do that interview? I said, I surely do. He said, well, come on, man. I'm in New York City. He said, this is where I'm staying. Bring your camera crew and you guys come on up. So now, man, I ain't got no money. I ain't got no car. You know, I ain't got no camera equipment. But I called my partners. They was doing a special for PBS, Rodney Brown and Will Williams. I called, I said, man, guess who called me? The champ just called me. He wants us to come to New York and do the interview. They said, what? They said, let's go. He said, look, I got the credit card. Rodney said, I got the credit card. Will got the car. We're going to pick you up. And we got the equipment from PBS. We're going to take their equipment to New York. So they hijacked PBS equipment, and we drove up to New York, man. We must have got up to New York about 6 o'clock that morning. I remember the hotel was on the park where he was staying. So I went into the hotel lobby, and he told me, you know, what room he was staying in and everything. And I picked up the phone, had the operator connect me with the room, and he picked up the phone. I said, champ, Harold Bell, I'm downstairs. He said, come on up. Went upstairs, man, knocked on the door. He opened the door, combing his hair. Hey, boy, didn't I tell you? I'm the champ. I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. We went on in and set up the cameras, man, and man, we had a ball, man. One of the great interviews that you'll ever see with Muhammad Ali, man. It's the only interview he's ever done. You know he's done thousands of interviews. You never see him do an interview with a black eye. My interview has him with a black eye. That's why you know if you see that interview anywhere, you know that's Harold Bell's interview, because he never did interviews with bruises on his face or black eye. And we did that, man, and it was something else, man. We ended up going back up to Deer Lake to let him see the finished product after Rodney and Will and them got through editing, and we went on back up to Will up there. And I called Rockmar and told him he was come up. He said, Harold, I think you may be in a little trouble. Lola Falana is up here with them hot pants on. He said, but come on up anyway. So we drove on up to Deer Lake, and we got up there, and Rockmar said, yeah, she's here. She's still here. So he said, took us to a little cabin. He said, look, you guys wait here. Let me see if I can get the champ to come here, and y'all set it up and see if I can get him. And about 45 minutes to an hour, he came back with the champ. Champ was not happy with me. He said, Harold, what you want? So as soon as he said that, Rodney started the video. And he sat down and watched the video, man. He said, that's a good job, man. He said, that's a good job. He said, let's get all the paperwork done so we won't have no problem. You got my okay to run with it. And after we got the paperwork done, we brought it back to D.C. And Rodney and myself were tight with Jim Vance at Channel 4. And we showed it to Jim Vance. And the show aired on NBC in November 1975. I was the first black to ever host and produce his own television sports special on the NBC affiliate WRC-TV4. And hey, man, the rest is history, man. Thanks to Jim Vance, I was able to get the show on, and thanks to Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali gave me instant credibility. When it comes to inside sports, gave me instant credibility. Red Auerbach gave me instant credibility, you know? So when you stop and think about Richard Nixon and the Muhammad Ali's, you know, I didn't have heroes growing up. Black athletes were not my heroes. My heroes were my grandmother and my mother. They couldn't shoot a jump shot from the foul line. They couldn't hit a baseball out of the stadium. They couldn't kick a football 60 yards down the field. But man, they were my heroes. And that's the black women were my heroes. Now, people like Muhammad Ali and Red Auerbach and the President Richard Nixon, man, those are people that I admired. My heroes, the greatest people in my life, in my lifetime, man, were my mother and my grandmother. And I feel blessed, you know, that I'm able here to sit here and look back on those great times that we had. Even though it was difficult times, man. They were superstars in the game called life, man. And the most important game being played in the world today is not football, basketball, and baseball. It's the game called life.